I'm not going to hold your hand when I tell you this. It's not always about you. Now, I'm from watching a video on YouTube that talks about how covert narcissism is affecting critical thinking. And when I say affect, I don't mean in the positive affecting way. I mean it in a negative sense. Now, I'm going to tell you this story about a time when a fight broke out in the middle of my aunt's funeral. Now, about a month and a half ago, my aunt, that's the one I love so dearly, passed away, unfortunately, succumbing to the injuries she got after she was involved in a fatal border accident. I actually do not like border borders, even though I have a brother who is a border rider. It's a tough line to walk. Anyway, so she passed on. And I remember it was such a very tough time because, she was very beloved. People loved her so much. She was a very lovely human being. And she left behind 4 children, also, I think. But yeah, she did leave behind 4 children and 2 grandchildren. And it's really unfortunate. Now, when we were at her funeral, I remember it was time for giving like speeches and everything. And I remember arriving to the funeral, it was so packed with so many people. And while I understand that the reason why people were packed was because my grandfather, my auntie's father, and my mom's father was a politician, I just didn't understand why they would particularly pull up for my aunt. Like, I didn't think she had like that many friends. Guys, I'm not just talking a couple hundred of people. I guarantee you at least 1,000 people in that compound. Mind you, the compound was not that big, right? And at the vigil, when I didn't see such a huge turn up, I thought, you know what? It seems like people won't be that many at the funeral. And it was most likely going to be a quick funeral and quiet and would move on. And now we were supposed to have traveled early in the morning for that funeral, for my aunt's funeral the night before. Actually, I was supposed to go there the night before at around either 11 or 3 a.m. in the morning. But my mom was like, nah, you guys, you travel with. Then she assigned us to someone to travel with because we are going to travel in a bus. But then she was like, no, you travel with this person and reach there safely. So yeah, for us, we set off here at 11 a.m. in the morning, 11 a.m. So we had assumed by that time they had like lowered the coffin into the grave and things were whatever. And for us, we're just going there to now pay our respects. Like, that's the assumption we moved with. So we went. My God, when we reached there, the funeral was so packed with people, so full. But that wasn't my issue. My issue was that we set off here to go to the village at 11. And of course, my mom's village is not so far, so we made it there quickly. But it was like what, 2 p.m. and the coffin hadn't yet been like lowered. Yet the body had traveled the night before and was supposed to be lowered in the grave by 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. from what I recall. So, I didn't find offense. But when I sat, I realized there were so many politicians giving speeches. Like, everyone else was giving a speech, but the family members, even I who thought was going to have a chance to speak on behalf of my family, because my mom is the firstborn in the family. So, by that logic, as one of her oldest children, I am supposed to give a speech at my auntie's funeral because she was the one who she's really been there for us, guys. I cannot tell you how she has stood into my mom's like she has stood in for my mom in so many, even while my mom was here and like before she of course traveled to go abroad. Even when my mom was here in Uganda, she really was standing in. And even when she went, my auntie was still standing in and very strongly. When I was at campus and I needed anything, she would come through without a moment's without thinking about it, without whatever. She would always come through. Yet she also had her own problems to think about. So by that logic, you would think I would give a speech. You guys, I sat and I was like, and they give priority to so many people that are not my family members. Her husband, her children, my uncles and aunties, her siblings didn't even get a chance. My mom, who had lost her sister, oh my goodness, didn't even get her speech played at the funeral. You guys, that thing broke my heart. So eventually, my aunt's husband, finally spoke up and was like, you people, this thing has become too convoluted, has become too political, and I just want to bury my wife in peace and live with my children. That's when, of course, they offered him the mic to speak. But before he could even get halfway through his speech, someone wanted to start a fight. And you guys, I got so pissed because her children were there, right? Now, at first I was like, why are these people starting this fight? Of course, I would later find out why. I'm not going to tell you guys. But what I can say, what I can feel the need to say here is that apparently, from subtext, they could tell that he was saying some controversial things. But you guys, I know I'm not a Muganda, but I understand Luganda. And yet nothing of anything he said appeared to be controversial. But people are like, nah, there was subtext, there was assumption. So they broke out in this fight because apparently there was even, I think, there was something, some other drama involved. I honestly want to share with you guys, but I can't. But my problem isn't the drama that broke out. Like, those things are bound to happen. People have feelings. But for effing sake, there were children, her children are grieving the loss of their mother. For crying out loud. Children. I'm not even saying like her children who are adults. Of course, she has an adult child, but her children who are not even yet adults, underage, are there grieving the loss of the only person they came to know as mother. And then people just start breaking out in a fight just because the husband said some things. And I got so pissed because I was like, these people are making it about themselves, whatever drama. What I can say is that the drama is to do with the family and how her death has impacted her side of the family. And they were all making these weird claims. They wanted to fight with my uncle, you guys, in front of his children. My goodness, isn't already the loss of their mother enough? And you see, the crazy thing is, it isn't the only funeral where such a thing has happened, even if it's the only one I've attended. It's the first funeral I've ever attended in my entire life. Even though I've lost enough people, it's the first funeral I've ever attended. Like in person, without coming either late or whatever. But my problem is that these people made the entire thing, my aunt's funeral, about their feelings. And I know I was saying that it isn't the first funeral where something like this has happened. So many funerals. I'm telling you out there, there's a friend of mine who lost her father. Rest in peace. She lost her father, and very recently she lost her mother. And I just take I condole with her, right? But when she lost her father, there were so many people who came and they were making the thing about themselves. What do I mean by that? They were campaigning, you people. They were campaigning. They were not there to condole with. They were not there to grieve with the family of the bereaved. I mean the deceased. And I was like, what? How have we become so narcissistic that we can reach on a funeral where someone has lost a beloved person, you guys, the bereaved family, and you can stand in front of a multitude of people and campaign or make it about yourself? At my aunt's funeral, they did not only campaign, they started to fight. The reverends whom they brought to preach, I even forgot their names because forever I won't even go to punish those guys for me. Those reverends they brought to speak, you guys, they still made it about themselves. Can you imagine? I have lost my aunt. I will never see her. I will never hear her voice. But those guys didn't even think once to say, these children have lost their kids, their mom. This woman has left her kids. They are vulnerable. They are grieving, for crying out loud. But these people wanted to make it about themselves. And it angered me. Like, go and campaign. Go and do whatever you want. But don't do it at a funeral where someone has lost a beloved one. For crying out loud. We've become so narcissistic. Everything is, oh, what about me? What about me? There's even this I think theory on TikTok called the bean soup theory. The bean soup theory, if I were to explain it politely, is apparently someone posted a recipe of cooking beans, and in the comments people are like, but this is offensive. How about me who doesn't eat beans? What does that mean? Like, you shouldn't be cooking beans where there are people who don't eat. There are families out there that can't afford beans. Like, what the heck? Beans. Like, that's what I'm talking about. That's the exact vibe that was going on at my aunt's funeral. You guys, They real chased my uncle and my aunt's children out of their own funeral, because these people, because from subtext, guys, that my uncle said something, which, by the way, me, I honestly did not get. Maybe there's some information I'm missing, and I honestly do not want to find out, because I've already grieved with the loss of my aunt, whom I will never ever get to hug, I'll never hold, I'll never see, I'll never pray with her ever again. But anyway, the video that I watched on YouTube was talking, of course, about how we've become so narcissistic that we cannot critically think. What do I mean by critical thinking? Critical thinking is look at the facts and observe them, and actually, even though they have not, like, if the facts are not on your side, you're not going to take offense to that. You're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. These guys, this is how this is actually is, and this is my opinion, but that doesn't change that someone has a different view from me, right? These I'm going to repeat it. These people made the whole thing of my aunt's funeral about them. They they were intelligent enough to dissect what my uncle was saying in that speech, but they were not intelligent enough to know that there are children who are grieving, who are going to live with this trauma for the rest of their lives. They didn't get to bury their mother properly. Of course, we had a second funeral, but guys, it shouldn't have reached to that point of reburying someone just because. It didn't have to reach. So if you're Ugandan, even if you're not or whatever, it isn't about you. There are some situations where it's about you and it's allowed. But as someone who has been in situations where, even though I'm forced to think, oh, it's about me, sometimes it isn't always about you. It actually isn't always about you. It isn't. There are sometimes some situations where it is, but when it isn't, use critical thinking. Anyway, I just came here to say that, and I hope to see you guys in another episode. I'm sorry to end on a very sour note, but I just got reminded of that day, my aunt's funeral, and it just brought out something in me that I felt I needed to share. So share this video widely, please, if you can. And I will see you guys. Ciao, Bella. Bye.